Hello.
What's up, y'all?
This is Steve with Steve's Thoughts and Nerd Talk,
All right,
along with Brian J's Nerd Talk.
that's right. We're here
Back to our
talking about nerd stuff.
Back to our weekly meetup for what is the word? Co-hosted videos.
Yeah, I mean, we did one last week, but my iPad died on me last week without me knowing it. So this iPad is alive and well, so we're able
So
to do this.
if you want to see that video from last week,
You have to watch
you're gonna
your
have to come
channel.
over to Steve's Thoughts and Nerd Talk.
Steve Thoughts
what
channel.
happened and
Yeah.
what we talked about. Let me get my handy dandy phone. Well, what it really is just a notepad. So we have a very good show for tonight. Very good show for tonight.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about a couple things. First thing we're going to be talking about is the WGA DGA strike.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of you are aware, and a lot of you are not aware. Writers are striking, directors are striking. As far as actors, I am not under the belief that they are acting now.
Well, the DJA signed a deal. It was an overwhelming vote. I think it was like an 80% agreement on the new deal with the studios. A lot of directors felt like they kind of got screwed over on the deal, and not the main directors, but the assistant directors, the directors who direct TV shows and television and TV movies, smaller budget stuff. They felt like they probably got screwed over, but it's a deal that's signed and it's good for about 3 years.
So, for anyone wondering, that means movies will have someone there to be in charge of it.
Directing
for
at
3
least, yeah.
years. No, that's why I say in charge of it.
Yeah.
What else is it to do?
Yeah.
Direct stuff. How?
But television is still mostly getting held up because of the writer's strike. So a lot of TV shows are getting delayed because of the writer's strike. Cobra Kai is one of them. The Metropolis, big budget science fiction series from Sam Esmail on Apple TV Plus got canceled. So that show's not going forward. It could have been great because Sam Esmail's a great writer. He's a great showrunner, but it was just getting too expensive. There was no casting at all. The scripts weren't complete, and it was expensive keeping a big studio going where the show's going to be filmed, and so Apple chose to cancel it. So
on top of it, it's the expenditure, what they were putting into the show was absurd.
Yeah.
And they were not getting anything in return.
and certain shows renewals are delayed as well, like Shadow and Bone on Netflix their renewal's been delayed. One, because season 2 wasn't a big enough hit, even though it's a really great show. It's not doing gangbusters on Netflix like The Witcher, Bridgerton, or Stranger Things, and a lot of the runaway hits. So it could be canceled, or they could renew it if the writer's strike happens, or give it a conclusion. I don't think spin-offs for that show is happening. Cobra Kai has been delayed, sadly, which is, unfortunately. I really want to see season 6, but I love season 5, and it ended so well in a really satisfying way. But it does set things up for a show, for the big international tournament that could still happen. So I want to see season 6 and how they could really wrap everything up.
I'm looking forward to season 6 if it does come out.
Yeah.
If it's in production, but they need a writing for a few more things, maybe the director will be able to piece it in. I don't know.
Well, the scripts are all complete. It's just they wanted to writing, especially doing a show that's like a comedy drama. They could come up with jokes on the fly and write it in the scripts, and that's the showrunner's style of writing. And that's why they decided to stop working on the show and put down their pens and the scripts, and because their style of writing, if they're not able to do that during a writer's strike where the show is going on because of the directors and the actors and they're not doing what they normally do, maybe season 6 doesn't have the same type of energy that the first 5 seasons had. So, that's delayed. Metropolis is canceled. Ghosts is delayed. The shows that were picked up by CBS, like the Good Wife spinoff, there's another spinoff of The Good Wife. First was The Good Fight. Now there's another one that's getting delayed, even though they filmed the pilot episode that got the show picked up. So
if you're wondering what I'm doing,
the Babylon,
the
Babylon 5 series is that pickup has been delayed. According to insider reports, the Babylon 5 series from J. Michael Straczynski can definitely get picked up. It's just that the writer's strike needs to end. But they were getting a lot of good momentum, but because the writer's strike happened, that momentum stopped. But the Babylon 5 movie is still coming out.
So, if anyone's concerned, Babylon 5 movie is still coming out. Show, all that's currently on the back burner, waiting for the writers to come to a resolute end about what they demand. And
Yeah.
Regarding the strike, one of the things that we're going to talk about is, well, for the VGA, they came to an agreement, 80% did at least, and the TV show directors and so on such feel they got cheated out, but
Yeah.
to
Well,
be
the,
honest,
well, the producers bend over backwards for the big name directors, and they had to because the directors in Hollywood have so much power and influence and connections that they really couldn't fuck with those people at all. Like James Cameron has almost $1 billion of net worth. So does Steven Spielberg. George Lucas is a billionaire.
well,
And
isn't he $4 billion? Isn't he a
$2 billion, $2 billion in
$2
stocks, $2 billion
okay.
in stocks. So he is about $2 billion,
You know,
and he's a shareholder and investor in Disney as well. So the directors, Spike Lee is also a millionaire. Oh God, Peter Jackson is well worth over hundreds of millions of dollars. So you have a lot of directors with so much money and influence and connections that the producers, the studios, the movie studios, had to bend over backwards and concede on a lot of things to get a 3-year deal done.
So when it comes to these big name directors, the reason why the studios will bend over backwards is for 3 reasons: fame, or I believe it's called pedigree. The fact that their products, their projects are either A, in theaters, or B, on streaming services. And C, you'll lose one of them, you'll lose a lot of them.
Yeah, and movies would just stop being made.
Yeah, and then theaters would go bankrupt.
Movies
and
would shut
companies
down.
would collapse, and streaming services would
Yeah,
die
and now
off,
they got to
theaters
get
would not
the actors deal and conversation fixed. They got to get that all done.
So,
The actors want to go on strike, some of the big name actors, but if a deal comes through and the majority of people in the SAG, vote on the deal and let it go through, it's going to go through. In spite of what Meryl Streep and Julia Louis-Dreyfus wants. But the reason why Jennifer Lawrence, Meryl Streep, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus sent in that letter is because they're thinking about all the actors on Broadway and smaller and lesser A-list actors that need to be financially compensated during the streaming age. And they also want to make sure that these studios don't try to screw them over using AI and using their likeness without fair compensation.
I want to say that if they manage to strike a deal with the actors, I do expect, and I'm in the belief on a business level of things, that studios will find a means to joust an underhanded tactic in the contract.
Right, but that's 20 years. That's like 10, 20 years.
No. Yeah, with AI currently.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
Well, no, with the growth of AI.
Yeah.
Look what Disney did with Rogue One.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Look what Disney did with Rogue One, where they CGI Tarkin.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is,
don't have that in there.
and it was so stupid when they did that because the actual actor who's in Game of Thrones actually looks like Tarkin. He actually looks like the actor, so they didn't need to do all that CGI and just distract the entire audience because it looks so weird and stupid. The actual actor looks like Tarkin, so just show the actor. You didn't need the CGI Tarkin at all. But
I'm in the belief that Disney...
The studios know what they're going to be doing in 10 or 20 years. When the contracts really expire and they're not going to go to the negotiating table, they'll let them strike and they'll just get AI to do all the work for them. And then everybody's out of a job.
I'm curious, does the SAG cover voice actors as well?
Huh?
Does the SAG... It covers voice actors?
Oh, yeah. No, voice actors in SAG as well.
Okay. So, my belief with the evolution and advancement of AI is 2 things. One, there's going to be a contract to say we can use
Yellow
your likeness.
Jackets.
Your likeness will be something that they can use on their demand and it's AI. Same thing with voice.
This also means Yellow Jackets is going to be delayed. Like, Yellow Jackets you're not going to see until maybe 2025, a 3rd season. If the actors go on strike, and that includes voice actors, so Arcane Season 2 is indefinitely delayed.
Unless Riot finds their own writers from the studio.
No, the scripts are all written, and they're in production right now. But they need the actors to voice all the characters. And if the actors go on strike and they're not working, then Season 2 is delayed indefinitely. Season 2 won't be coming out in 2024.
Excuse me.
There's a lot of movies and a lot of shows will get delayed.
I thought Arcane 2, Season 2 was 2023, late 2023, no?
No. It was going to be late 2024.
Excuse me.
So if the actors go on strike, and Haley Steinfeld is a part of SAG. She's been nominated for SAG. She has a SAG card, and she's nominated for Oscars. If they go on strike, she's not working. The actress who plays Jing, she ain't working either. So, and that show won't come out until 2025. So, you know,
See, no,
there's a lot of stuff that's going to get delayed. I mean,
a lot. It's a big issue. It's going to be so basically, what's going on is that the production media pipe.
and to put content out, they'll need to try to make deals with other countries outside of Western civilization that are not connected to SAG or the WGA. So it wouldn't surprise me if this writer strike and an actor strike goes on for a long period of time, that you're going to see a lot of Japanese anime just pop up. Like, you're going to see a lot of anime everywhere.
Listen, writers, stay
You're
on
going to see a
strike.
lot of
Stay on
Japanese
strike.
anime.
Stay on strike. We get good content from
It's going to
Japan.
be so funny.
Well, from what I heard, Netflix has already signed a deal to get Korean content.
Yeah, K-pop.
Korean-
K-pop, a lot of Korean shows and anime and movies and TV shows are all coming out later on this year. On Netflix, they signed a massive deal to do that, which they were already working on, but now they got an excuse because people that work in South Korea, most of them are not a part of WGA or SAG, and it's the same in Japan. So, and you know, Netflix loves Japanese anime. They've been
Netflix started out as an anime.
when it was first streaming, you could watch anime that cost $80 at Image Anime, which is why Image Anime went out of business.
$80 for
because that all the anime you couldn't buy in America was there on Netflix. But the thing is that Netflix is never not given to anime fans, so they're going to bring in a lot of anime as well if the writer's strike and the actor strike goes on for a long period of time.
I'm under the belief, personally, that the writer's strike is going to go on much longer than the actors.
You think it's going to break the record? You think it's going to go more than 255 days?
I think it might get close to that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You think it's going to go into September and October?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, for the reason that writers today are making some rather...
In streaming, they're making significantly less than what they made on network TV.
Oh, it's not only that, but writers at the strike are demanding some quite... Some things. They're demanding some things that are rather...
That can be done. I mean, they want to get money from residuals on streaming.
I'm not against that.
They can totally get that. They totally get that.
However,
they're not. I don't
think
think
what they're asking for is, you know, if
they're not going to get the
400,
400.
15 writers, they want 30 writers because they need to have that many writers.
Well, they're not going to get $467 million. But the studios can compromise on that. They could compromise and pay them $250 million or $300 million.
You said $300 million. I said $250 million. You said $300 million with residuals. I said $250-ish million with residuals.
Yeah, they could agree on that maybe.
I see. Because
and more writers' room.
If the writers are demanding $400 million, I don't see studios coming to the table saying, "Okay." I don't see that happening for the reason that there's a lot of content being produced. Say out of 10 shows, 4 are major hits.
But the studios can wait them out. That's the thing.
Yeah.
The studios, if they could get this actors deal with SAG gone through this week, the studios can wait until September and October to just wait out the WGA, and so the WGA will compromise on how much money they want and just take a deal that they probably don't want to take. The studios waited them out in 1988, which was a writer's strike that started in March, and it lasted all the way into August, and a lot of people lost their careers because of that writer's strike. And they got the deal that they got was not the deal that they really wanted.
So the reality of the situation is, on a corporate level, when you're trying to negotiate or make demands from an entity that's much larger than you are financially, let alone with your purse strings that has a lot more of a bigger bag. If studios want to really weed out the poor quality, low level quality writers, they themselves can hold out until October, November, maybe even December, and you'll find out that a lot of writers have lost their careers playing to call.
I don't think they'll make them. I don't think they're going to make them. I don't think they're going to.
I did that. Apologies. I did that online Twitter thing. I'm as much as I like the shirt, I'm House Slytherin according to the stuff.
He said he did the online thing that we did. That's why he's a Slytherin. Yeah, I'm a Slytherin. He said he's a Slytherin.
I forgot the name of my wand.
Yes, he's Slytherin King.
He's clearly a Gryffindor.
I forgot the name of the wand, but it looks more like a Death Eater's wand or
Yeah.
whatever.
Because apparently at heart you're a Slytherin.
Well,
I'm Gryffindor, so yeah, I'm always Gryffindor.
Same.
We always win the war.
my
Right.
sister's Hufflepuff. no, excuse me, Ravenclaw.
Great.
One of those two. I think
One
one's.
of those two.
I have two sisters. One's Hufflepuff, one's Ravenclaw.
That's hilarious.
One despises the house. And
Hufflepuffs are
I'm
cute.
like, listen, I'm fine where I am. I gotta be with all the people who know dark magic.
They sorted me in Slytherin, but this guy. I like that shirt.
Thank you. I do apologize. A fellow fan of the Harry Potter
Yep.
houses.
And I will say this about I don't think the studios are going to wait until December because if the studios can't
Is
get
it
these
okay?
because of these studios
Is it okay?
because of these studios.
Pretty protected.
Oh, great! Because
Oh, better.
if these studios can't get shows and movies made, then they're going to be bleeding money as well. So it's not just the writers are going to lose careers. A lot of these studios are going to be bleeding money, and then they're going to have to start canceling a lot of shows they don't want to cancel that are bringing in subscribers. Now, Netflix knows what shows they want to keep. I think they're going to want to keep Cobra Kai. They definitely want to keep Stranger Things. There is no crazy fucking world where they're going to cancel Stranger Things. I don't want to jinx anything, but still.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood, whatever. But it's like,
right here. Knock on
yeah,
wood,
but there's no like crazier
You jinxed it.
thing or whatever. The Witcher they're gonna keep around because that brings subscribers.
I don't know.
No, The Witcher they'll keep around. The Witcher they're keeping around for 5 seasons. Now what Netflix will do, they'll do what they did with COVID-19 lockdown. They'll cancel 10 other shows that nobody watched, or you did watch and it has a fan base but it's not big enough, so they'll cancel it and say fuck you basically.
When it comes
Shows that got renewed right now will get canceled that don't have a big enough audience, and shows runaway hits. They'll keep The Witcher. They'll keep Stranger Things. They're gonna keep Bridgerton. Absolutely, Bridgerton.
is The Witcher a successful hit?
Yeah, it's one of their biggest hits.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't want to see any more Witcher seasons, episodes,
Well,
whatever
season
it's
3
called,
people are gonna watch
you're
anyway.
gonna want to have to. You're gonna have to.
They're
stop
keeping-
watching
they're
it.
probably-
Don't talk about it. Just let it die off.
They're
into
most
nothingness.
likely going to keep You since they renewed it, but they're going to keep that because that's one of their biggest hits, and it's not a super expensive show. So they're going to keep The Witcher. They're going to keep You. They're going to keep Bridgerton, Stranger Things, and maybe Cobra Kai. That's 5 shows.
Wait.
So outside of those 5 shows, everything else is up for grabs. Everything else.
Okay,
Everything else is completely up for grabs.
Before we proceed any further, ladies and gentlemen, if you like this content, if you like the content we are delivering to you, please hit that
Like and subscribe.
button.
Yeah.
Follow us. Click the notification bell to follow us for further content that will come
Yeah.
out on time, whether it's next week, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's a few days later, or what comes up in the nerd culture, nerd topic, nerd realm, or any
But-
topics regarding nerd society.
But that's for Netflix. That is 5 shows. For HBO, their biggest hits that they're going to keep will
House of the
be
Dragons, no?
House of the Dragon,
Yep.
The Last of Us, and Euphoria. Those are their 3 big hits. And everything else outside of those 3 hits is up for grabs. Everything outside. And by Game of Thrones, by Game of Thrones, I also not just mean House of the Dragon. I also mean extension, the Dunk and Egg series. Which
Give me 1 second.
you right? Oh, you gotta close that door. Yeah, it smells. Yeah, it smells like cleaning. It's like,
It's not that. It's not that. It's just when you leave.
smells
a
like
bathroom
paint
door,
in there.
When you leave a bathroom door open, the amount of bacteria. Before anyone says something stupid, the amount of bacteria that flies out is just
right, it's disgusting.
repulsive.
It's disgusting.
No.
But something's bad for something, right?
I'm gonna
But
put my hands under this.
everything is bad for something. But still, so for HBO, Dunk and Egg will most likely still get made. Because that's not gonna. Dunk and Egg is a wonderful book series. I read the first novella. I haven't read the other 2, but I read the first one. No. Not the first novella. The one I read. Dunk and Egg is a series of 3 novellas that are in one book, and one of the stories was the Second Blackfire Rebellion, I read it. I don't remember a lot of it, but I got to reread it all. But it's one of the funniest rebellions ever because it ended as quickly as it started. And so it involves Dunk and Egg. It involves dwarves with one of the dwarves covered in shit because he had to climb through a sewer and a toilet, basically. and it involves another night. It involves a tournament and a joust. And it's one of the funniest shits I've ever read in my life. It's
That dwarf. Listen, dwarves will work in dirt and mud, mining and.
But the funny thing is
making drinks.
But
not that.
But all these things happen, and also Brandon Rivers, I think it's Brandon Rivers, who was a Blackfire, but he was pro Targaryen, who becomes the Three-Eyed Raven, and he can like change into a raven back into human. He can also take up a new identity, so he's involved in the story as well. And it's also like a story that fulfills prophecy where Egg, who's a future Targaryen, is like going to be the new leader of the Targaryen family down the line. So there's all this prophecy and stuff that gets fulfilled, but the story is so funny. And all this stuff that's happening that's like a mystery that gets discovered later on. Like the fact that the Hedge Knight, Dunk, walks by a dwarf that smells like shit, and he's like, why does that dwarf smell so bad? It's like, my God. And it's so funny when it all gets revealed. So I want to see that show so badly. So HBO is not going to cancel that show. So the shows that are on the chopping block for the rest of the year. One is The Idol. That show is a piece of shit. It's the worst show that HBO has done in 20 years.
I regret watching it.
You watch The Idol?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I've been watching it every week because it's so bad it's entertaining.
I gave up.
It's
I gave
awful.
Up. I gave up.
See, okay, here's the thing. When I saw the second episode, I finally understood why the critics hated it so bad. And this is one of the few moments in movie going and TV watching that the critics and audiences agree that the show is terrible, right? But when the reviews came out, we didn't know why the critics at Cannes hated the show so much. We did not know why. But then, because I saw the first episode, it wasn't good, but it wasn't awful, right? It was bad, but it was watchable. It had some shot composition and directing that was nice.
It's bad. It's bad in the sense that I could literally have it playing, but my attention is going to be on this.
Yeah, it had some artistic visuals that were artistic moments that were nice. There was some artistry that was okay. I liked. But then the second episode happened, and it was one of the worst episodes I've ever seen in my life. Like, it started off decent, and then it got increasingly bad in the second half when they started focusing on Tedros and The Weeknd giving one of the worst performances in the history of television. He is so bad, I think the Razzie Awards need to make their own category dedicated to The Weeknd. Like if you've given the worst performance of the year, they need to make The Weeknd award for the worst actor of the year, the worst performance. It could be male, it could be a man, a woman, it could be transgender, non-binary, doesn't matter. If you've given the worst performance of the year, you need to get the award called The Weeknd. And the Razzie Awards need to create that next year. If they're watching this, please take my idea. I will not sue you. It would be so hilarious.
All he wants is to be credited with the idea.
Yeah.
You just do it. You just have him come to the show and he'll tell you who the worst actor is.
And The Weeknd.
You don't even need the actors to tell you who the worst actor is. He'll watch all the shows and tell you who's the worst, who deserves it, and who should go home in shame.
And I have nothing but love and praise for The Weeknd. He is a great singer. His music videos are amazing. He not only makes albums of music that is hugely commercially successful, but also artistically relevant. So they not only get the great critical acclaim from musician fans who love art and love artistry as well as entertaining music, but his music is also hugely popular that you could dance to, that you could vibe to, anyone can listen to. But the brother can't act. He just can't act. The Weeknd is just a terrible actor. He is, in my opinion, he's kind of hurting his career and he's ruining his reputation being in this show because he's giving such a terrible performance and it's just laughable. It's laughably awful.
There are people who are able to act that have not gone to acting school.
Yeah.
They can do a phenomenal job.
Yeah, Prince was great.
Yeah.
Prince was a great actor.
Yes.
And a great musician.
Yes.
And a great singer.
Yes.
And he was a great basketball player. Yes. That too.
And despite all of his greatness, he ended up falling.
Dying tragically, yeah. Very young. Michael Jackson was a great actor. I mean, his acting was great in the zombie music video Thriller. He was great. Yeah, he was great. His acting, he's good. He's always been good.
I
He
know
can sing, he can dance, he can act.
there's this weird connotation that you have to be an actor who has gone to acting school to be successful in the.
Yeah.
I-
Madonna was a good actress too.
Yeah.
Madonna was good.
Her career came to an end when Eminem destroyed her. But
No. Madonna's career came to the end when she did that terrible movie with her ex-husband Guy Ritchie. One of the worst movies ever. It came out in, I think, 2002, 2003. It was a god-awful movie. It was one of the worst films that year. I remember sitting in the theater watching it.
I was referring to her music career.
No, her. I mean, well, when
Debatable.
No, but back in her younger years when she was great, she was also a good actress. She just wasn't good enough to win an Oscar to get nominated for an Oscar. Unlike Lady Gaga, and Lady Gaga is a great actress and a great musician, a great singer, a great dancer. She's a multi-talented woman. So, yeah, The Weeknd is just terrible, and he needs to stop. Just stop. This is, and Sam Levinson is such a fucking creepy dude that I think the government needs to be watching him right now. He is such a creepy fucking guy. I mean, the amount of the fetishization or whatever you want to call it in this show is just insane. It's disturbing and it's not cute, but it is hilarious and it's fucking goofy as fuck and it's just terrible. But yeah, I don't know what to say. It was bad.
I'm gonna say.
And the last episode is this Sunday. Apparently, there's supposed to be 6 episodes, but Sam Levinson must have done something with episode 6 and edited together. And I think what HBO's going to do, they're going to come out and say it's a limited series, not a real series. Even though it was promoted as a series, they're going to say it's a limited series because season 1 has like an ending, and we're going to end it there and not keep it going because nobody's really watching the show.
It's damn bad, awful with that acting.
And it's probably doing okay on delayed viewing, but it's not doing as well as Euphoria. It's not doing as well as It's not doing as well as Euphoria. It's not doing as well as The White Lotus. It's definitely nowhere near as good in the ratings as The Last of Us or House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones. And according to insider sources, The Idol cost close to $200 million. The reason why is because HBO fired the original showrunner who was a woman and the original director who was a woman and got Sam Levinson who rewrote all the scripts and became the main director and reshot everything and shot his own stuff and went from 6 episodes to 5 episodes. So HBO was already spending almost $90 million and now it's costing another $100 million. So HBO is just going to cut their losses. The ratings are not good. So we're going to call it a limited series and then move on to Euphoria season 3.
Okay. And unfortunately, when it comes to HBO, when it comes to Disney and Netflix, I don't know what the hell leadership is doing, but they really need to get rid of them because they're putting
Amazon,
these horrible shows.
And Amazon's
not even doing it. Amazon's doing itself a disservice.
Amazon is
and
just
shooting itself in the foot further than anything.
And Amazon is just canceling shows to keep Lord of the Rings of Power going.
It's a terrible show.
It's an awful show. Here's the thing: a lot of people who are convinced the show's going to get canceled are don't get your hopes up because what Amazon's going to do, they're going to cancel 10 other shows to keep Lord of the Rings of Power going. Why? Because it's their biggest subscribers. It's brought a lot of subscribers and viewership. So they're going to say it's a hit because they're going to say it is. And they're going to
less ratings. It'll probably have less ratings than The Last of Us. It'll probably have less ratings than Cobra Kai. It'll probably have less ratings.
It was ranked number
god awful for the worst awful show.
It was ranked number 15 last year, number 14 or 15. It was dead last in the top 15. So, but they're just going to keep it going. They're going to cancel 20 other shows, and the other show they're going to keep going is The Citadel, which is almost as bad as Rings of Power, but not as bad.
The Citadel is watchable in the sense that you can have popcorn, you can have phone, or
and it's
something,
forgettable.
and have somebody
it's tedious, but you can watch it.
Think of it like this: it's one of those films where you can have something to eat, something to drink, not really pay much mind to it because you're not really missing out on much.
Yeah.
And then talk to somebody on the phone.
And Amazon
uncle,
Studios, is all in on the Russo brothers business. I mean, they made the highest grossing superhero movies of all time, worldwide, and so they're all in. That's it. Whatever they do now turns to gold because their products are good enough for people to watch them.
They have the right touch.
The Gray Man was not a great movie, but it was really good, and a lot of people watched it. It was a lot of fun. Ryan Gosling gave a great performance as usual.
Well, it's Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, he's a great actor. Yeah.
that's what that is. And as much as I want to see successful shows, I'm more or less when it comes to bad shows, bad series, bad productions. Fish iPad.
The what?
Fish iPad. It's a little angled.
Oh yeah, it's been angled. Let me see. Okay.
When it comes to all these series, whether they're planned out for long, multiple seasons, or they're just terrible shows, watching these companies lose money is a whole lot more entertaining than watching them put something actually worth enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because it's like watching. It's like watching fools think a
Yeah.
lily pad is gold.
I mean,
and jump on it.
I mean, they forced the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel to end with season 5 instead of season 7 because Amazon spent almost $500 million on the first season of Lord of the Rings: The Rings of Power, and they're probably going to spend another $400-something million on season 2 and another 300 or whatever for season 3, 4, and 5. And Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is a masterpiece. It's really the best show that Amazon has ever done. And that show could have had a season 6 and 7, but it ended with season 5. And it was a fantastic season. And the show's a masterpiece. It's a 10 out of 10. But that's one of many shows that Amazon is ending. And Amazon does a lot of star fucking. Like, they signed,
Star fucking.
yeah, they did. They signed Lisa Joy and Jonathan Nolan to like a $120 million deal to do shows for Amazon. And The Peripheral was a show that a lot of executives at Amazon wanted to cancel, but they renewed it anyway because, let's be honest, canceling the first show under your new recent deal with Jonathan Nolan and his wife Lisa Joy would have been a political PR disaster. So they renewed it for season 2, and then they're going to move on to Fallout season 1, which is coming out later on this year. That's in the bag. That's already been finished filming.
Wait, Fallout? Are we talking about the Fallout series?
Fallout series.
Oh.
There's a TV show adaptation of Fallout,
To my fellow.
specifically Fallout 3.
To my fellow.
Specifically Bethesda.
To my fellow Fallout fans, my fellow Bethesda Fallout fans, our disappointment is immeasurable.
No, it could be a good show.
It's Amazon.
No, you know
It's
what?
Amazon.
No, but it could be a good show because Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy, they do good with the first season. It's the following seasons where they fuck up. Like Westworld season 1 is a masterpiece. It's a 10 out of 10. One of the greatest first seasons of any show ever made. It was season 2, season 3, season 4 where it got worse and worse and worse. And then it got canceled.
Hence, if you pay attention,
Yeah.
my fellow
And
Fallout
Westworld
Bethesda fans.
and Westworld was supposed to take up the mantle left by Game of Thrones because Game of Thrones was ending after season 6. They had 2 more seasons left. And so Westworld was supposed to take over, but instead it was a smaller, less expensive show that became the really big hit for HBO when Game of Thrones was coming to an end was Succession. And Succession is an incredible series, and it's one of their biggest hits, and it ended on a real high note with season 4, which is one of the greatest seasons ever. And I think Succession is the greatest show ever made. It's the greatest show ever created, so.
Thus far. So we're gonna move on from the strike topic, and then all these shows we're talking about.
Let's talk about Superman.
Let's talk
quickly.
about. I thought we were gonna talk about Marvel Super Invasion.
Let's talk about that next. Let's
Okay, so for Superman,
We'll talk about-
Superman Legacy. Right?
Superman Legacy. I was looking forward to the movie. I was interested. Now I'm really excited because James Gunn did great casting. He casted an actor. Let me look up his name. His last name is kind of funny to say. The actor was in We Own This City and Netflix's Hollywood. He's a pretty good actor. He's really talented. And the actress they got to play Lois Lane is Rachel Brosnahan, who is a great fucking actress. She is so incredible. She plays a Midge Maisel in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. All 5 seasons, she's incredible. She's won an Emmy. I think she's won 2 Emmy Awards. She's won 3 SAG Awards and 1 Golden Globe. She's incredible in that show. She knocks it out of the park every time. And she's amazing. I love her in the show. And her performance in all 5 seasons is great. She has great range. She's great at drama, great at comedy. She's been great at everything. She was great in The Blacklist. She was great in House of Cards for 3 seasons. And she's really, really great in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And so now she gets to play Lois Lane. And the actor they picked to play Superman name is David Corenswet, which is a funny last name to say. It's very English. It's a very English last name. Yeah. David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan. And they picked actors that looked the part, and I'm glad that James Gunn didn't succumb to the altar of politics, where he allowed Superman and Lois Lane to remain white, which is fine. It's great. I'm happy about it because we have plenty of Supermen who are black in the multiverse. If you want to make a movie about them, that's perfect. There's no need to do what Warner Brothers wanted to do 4 years ago. Remember that stupid J.J. Abrams movie he was going to direct with Superman, with Clark Kent played by Michael B. Jordan? It would have been so terrible. And nobody would have watched it, and it would have flopped like The Flash.
And then everybody
Not
would have
for-
racism.
maybe
and
not-
sexism.
Maybe not for that reason, but it would have been bad. It would have been fucking terrible.
I'm sure it would have been for that reason. Consider that whenever something that Hollywood believes
Yeah.
is being demanded by
Yeah.
Twitter fails, it's racism,
Yeah.
sexism.
And who
like
knows?
this.
Who knows? Maybe I could have been wrong. Maybe that movie could have been really good. Maybe it could have been a hit because J.J. Abrams usually does a good job the first movie.
First
It's
movie.
the sequels.
First movie.
The sequels, no.
Anything-
Don't let him do a part 2.
If
Just
he
don't.
does 1.52, 2.53,
Yeah.
moving on.
The only reason
garbage.
that
that
Mission
man has no originality whatsoever.
none. He's just a copycat.
That man plagiarizes shit
The only
on
reason
a modern scale.
The only reason that Mission Impossible 3 was really good was because that was his first movie. It was his first attempt at Mission Impossible. It wasn't like he was following anything up. And at the time, Mission Impossible 3 was the best Mission Impossible movie. And it set the tone for the next 5 movies because of what J.J. Abrams pulled off. He brought a serious, dramatic tone and a grittiness to Mission Impossible that Tom Cruise copied during the following movies, especially Mission Impossible 5, 6, and 7. So J.J. Abrams did a good job saving that franchise. Even though it didn't make a lot of money because of Tom Cruise acting like a crazy person at the time, J.J. Abrams did set the tone for what
Hey, Tom
yeah.
Cruise was acting like a crazy person at the time. Now
Yeah.
he's acting like somebody who has a fucking head.
Right, I know, because he stopped talking about his whole thing,
His
whole religion.
Scientology.
Yeah, his whole religion. But
That's not a religion.
But J.J. Abrams basically fixed that franchise because the first 2 movies tonally are all over the place. You got the serious like spy thriller by Brian De Palma, and then you got Mission Impossible 2, which is an over the top John Woo action movie that is fucking ridiculous.
Oh, I was looking for
But fun.
I was looking for the co-director for Mission Impossible 4.
Yeah, the current director for what?
The co-director for Mission Impossible 4.
Mission Impossible 4 didn't have a co-director.
It did?
No, it had one director, Brad Bird.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Brad Bird was the director of the 4th movie. But Mission Impossible 2 was just a crazy, chaotic, over-the-top action movie by John Woo. And John Woo was known for that, and it was a fun movie, but it had... Tonally, it was the complete opposite of the first movie. So then we get to the 3rd movie, which had a serious, dark tone, and that got continued for the rest of the movie.
Well, the franchise, J.J. Abrams did one thing good.
Yeah.
One thing good.
Yeah, he set the tone for the rest of the movies. And he's been a producer on those movies ever since. But Star Trek 2009 was really good. Star Trek Into Darkness sucked. Was a mess. Star Wars The Force Awakens is really good. I still love that movie. But his sequel, The Rise of Skywalker, is arguably the worst Star Wars movie ever made.
And then
Arguably.
The Last Jedi was bad.
No, but that wasn't J.J. Abrams' movie. That was Ryan Johnson. So you can blame him all you want.
No.
But The Rise of Skywalker is way worse than The Last Jedi.
No.
Way worse. No, Ryan Johnson wrote and directed The Last Jedi.
Force
That's his movie.
Awakens, Last Jedi. Oh, excuse me. But the Rise of Skywalker was bad. Rey's not a Skywalker. She's basically performing, and the whole
you know,
the whole
it's-
Lucasfilm
No, I
war
know.
with Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen, should get the fuck out of here, Kennedy, is just basically saying, I'm gonna take George Lucas's character's name.
She's the only
and
one
give
that
it to this person.
Yeah, and watch
Who has no connection to the book.
and watch Indiana Jones flop, and they renew her contract because she's the only one that wants to do the job.
Oh, and
Nobody
I-
else wants this job.
Speaking
And
of-
can you blame people? What executive wants to work at Lucasfilm right now? I don't. Nobody would.
I would. The first
No,
thing
you
I would
wouldn't.
do- Yeah, I would.
No, you would.
I would.
Are you kidding me? You would have a stroke.
I can't have a stroke.
You
I don't have
would.
a heart. I don't have
You
a heart.
would have a
Well,
stroke.
look, you heart right here. It don't beat. It goes.
You would go back into chemo, sir.
I'm in chemo.
Every cancer that you had would come back, and you would go back into chemo, and they would say that you left because of creative differences.
That's basically.
Knowing you're in a
That's
hospital,
That's how
hooked
Disney
up
says
to a
you're
tube.
fired. That's
Hooked
how
up
Disney
to a
says you're
tube.
fired. No,
I was-
I would do it because the first thing I would do is I'd clean the fucking house out.
You would have gray hair by the end of the year. Bro.
I don't care.
You would look like
I
J.
don't have
Michael.
gray hair. I have blonde
You would
hair.
look like J. Michael.
Blonde.
You would look like J. Michael Straczynski in 1996.
Hey,
in
hey,
97.
I'd be good looking though.
You would look like him. He looked so bad that the cast of Babylon 5 was feeding him Snickers and candy and sugar without him knowing it. They were like, give him this, give him that, give him that. They didn't tell him that until the show wrapped up because he looked like a corpse while he was writing 44 episodes. No one told him they were feeding him candy. You know, he was getting like 3 hours of sleep a night.
I would gladly take the position because first thing I'd do if I was in charge of Lucasfilm, fire half of the people who would do a terrible job.
Oh god, that'd be so funny if Bob Iger did that. Like if Bob Iger fires, no, but that'd be so funny though. If he got rid of Kathleen Kennedy, or not, he just micromanages everything like crazy. If Star Wars Acolyte is if it's bad behind the scenes, like what some people think it is, according to testing, if Bob Iger cancels that series
From
and fires that writer and showrunner,
from people with connections to insider sources within Disney.
nobody with connections can confirm anything. But if something comes up, don't be surprised.
If you're able to confirm it, do confirm it. I would very much like to see whether or not I am correct on this matter, that The Acolyte is a garbage show that was born out of the feces of the corpses that remained out of 7, 8, and 9. And then, what's that new Obi-Wan and Boba Fett.
Yeah. It's
And
made,
out of all the shit that
it
remained,
sounds like a show that is going to be super feminazism. Feminism.
So, in
And
other words,
not in a good way.
in other words, if you were a Star Wars fan, this show is not for you. This show was never made for you. This show is not intended for you to even look at.
It's made for the new audience that doesn't care about it.
It's made for the audience.
It's
that
made for my friends that don't watch Star Wars. Watch out.
It's made for the people who cry and scream and screech and whine.
It's made
and
for my
on Twitter.
It's made for my SJW friends that don't watch Star Wars.
And don't spend
With
money.
with purple hair, blue hair, and green hair.
In our whales.
With tattoos on their shoulders, semi overweight or not overweight, who don't watch Star Wars. And that's
Well,
okay. They can care about the message all they want, but they know that, you know. But the reason why these people keep getting hired is because, again, I stress to people who keep asking, why do SJWs keep getting hired in Hollywood? They're great brown noses. The problem is that they're making content that's not good, and so studios are losing money. So after like the last 6, 7 years, they're finally firing a lot of these people. And it's not their fault. It's the fault of, well, it's not the fault of all the studio heads. It's the fault of a lot of studio heads that love to be brown nosed to death.
These are people who
To death.
These studio
that
heads,
love being told how great they are every fucking day.
They're mini Putins. These are Putins.
They care about people who have a lot of business integrity, who brown nose them and suck up to them, like fucking Alex Kurtzman, who is the biggest brown noser, kiss ass, who be sucking these studio heads assholes. Really, that's all he does. He tells them what they want to think. He tells them how they want he tells them what they want to feel. Like if they thought it was a great idea to give Spock fucking bat wings and fly around the stage, Alex Kurtzman will say, that is a wonderful idea, I will totally do that, and then not do it. But it doesn't matter, because he said, I might do it, and I hear you, it's a wonderful idea. So they extend his contract. Paying this guy $5 million a year. For what?
For one scene, and that's it.
This guy was running the franchise into the ground. Star Trek Discovery was a clusterfuck. From the beginning, it was a clusterfuck. And I was enjoying season 3. I liked it. I do not really enjoy the first 2 seasons. And I was enjoying season 4 for a while. But the whole second half became a fucking cry fest with characters crying with this melodrama in every episode.
Listen, if you want good content and make it repetitive, but it's still good, watch Spanish soap operas.
Yeah.
At this point, that's all you might as well be
Season
doing.
3 of Picard was a masterpiece because it was actually a Star Trek season. Dealing with an actual great story. With the cast from TNG
On behalf of
being the
all-
cast from TNG. And none of the women were like shitting on the men or putting down the men or saying to Picard, shut the fuck up, in sheer fucking hubris. All this dumb fucking woke feminist hogwash that was going on in the first 2 seasons. Absolute fucking numbskull shit.
No. On behalf of all the SJW crying fat whale Twitter babies on the internet, how dare you?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
They don't even do that shit on Strange New Worlds. Like the first 2 seasons of Star Trek Discovery were so woke and so like anti-straight white man that in season 2 in almost every episode, Captain Pike was being ran over repeatedly. Like every time he gave an order or talked, somebody would talk back to him or put him down or something. And in Strange New Worlds, none of that is really happening at all. It's like a completely different show with a different mentality. And you know, I'm biracial. I'm a minority, and you know, part of me is a feminist to a degree. But I don't want to see my favorite franchises being butchered and destroyed on the altar of woke leftist politics that has nothing to do with the real world and is disrespectful to legacy characters of Star Trek. Genuine legacy characters, because women have been treated like shit for decades. It's like, look, you can acknowledge that women are treated like shit and give female characters so much to do without having to shit on men to prop them up. That's what I loved about season 3 of Picard, is that Deanna Troi and Beverly Crusher got to do so much in that season, but the men were not put down to make them look great. It was like genuine equality.
Wait.
And I loved it.
Wait. Hold on. On behalf of everyone on the internet, everyone that has internet access, everyone that watches YouTube, how dare you speak such blasphemous things?
And now after 6 years, chickens are coming home to roost. Which is what my mother always said. It's what my grandmother always said. It's a Southern black saying. When the shit sort of hits the fan, chickens come home to roost. Star Trek Discovery is forced to end in season 5 instead of going to season 6 or 7, because in the end they weren't making as much money on Paramount Plus anymore, and that show cost like almost $300 million to make.
Oh, speaking of Paramount Plus, I heard.
And they canceled Star Trek Prodigy, which I feel bad for those fans, but this was coming. This was coming.
Speaking of Paramount,
This was happening.
Speaking of Paramount, I heard or read and heard both that Netflix might be buying Paramount Plus.
I don't know. It's up to what Sherry Redstone needs to do is get Paramount out of debt before anyone would think of, because she owns National Amusements and she basically owns Paramount and Paramount Plus and all that. So if she wants to sell Paramount for $30 billion or $40 billion, she needs to get that stock up. And so they had a horrible quarter this year, and
you know,
she needs to get the stocks up for the next couple of years. And if Paramount doesn't get bought out by Netflix, it could be bought out by tech, maybe Amazon, because they have a good working relationship with Amazon and Jeff Bezos and Jennifer Salke. It could be sold to Apple because Tim Cook is an open book. He can work with anybody, and they need a library of content now.
Was that an intentional rhyme?
What?
What you just said?
What, Tim Cook?
It's an open book.
Yeah.
Hooray! Plus 1 today. 1 point for today on rhyming.
I spit a rhyme, great. But yeah, it's because Paramount Plus was looking at the data and they realized they got 60 million subscribers, and 1 out of 3 Paramount Plus subscribers are only watching Taylor Sheridan shows. Most of those subscribers are not watching Star Trek, because let's face it, Star Trek has disappointed so many people that just when it's starting to get great, it's too little too late. Strange New Worlds is a great show, but for a lot of Trekkies, it's too little too late. Season 3 of Picard was great, but let's be honest, it was too little too late because season 2 was absolute dog shit. It was the worst season in the history of Star Trek.
Mind you, speaking of when it was just getting great, but it's a little too late.
Too little too late.
Let's talk about Guardians of the Galaxy.
But listen, Paramount Plus and Bob Backus, they looked at this and they realized 1 out of 3 people are watching Taylor Sheridan shows. Those shows are bringing in subscribers. Those shows are bringing in consistent subscribers.
Yeah, those shows
and Taylor Sheridan is the only writer on those shows. That means he is the only person that they're really paying for those shows. And he is the only writer under Paramount who is willing, by his own admission in the recent interview he did with Hollywood Reporter, he only wants to write for his shows. He doesn't want to work with any writers. He does not want a big writer's room. He only wants to write by himself. So Paramount Plus is saving money because they're only paying one fucking guy, and they're paying him basically $350 million a year for not only for him, but to keep up his ranch, where he's filming most of these shows on the Four Sixes Ranch, which is the most famous ranch in Texas, and it's the biggest ranch in America.
Mind you,
And I grew up in Texas. I know about that ranch.
Mind you, this is a financially sound deal.
Yeah.
Who the frick at Paramount's gonna want to pass that off?
I'm even hearing rumors, this hasn't been confirmed, don't take my word for it, that Taylor Sheridan wants to leave the WGA so he could get back to writing and get these shows made. If that happens, these negotiations could be fucked. Yeah. These negotiations with the WGA could be screwed if something like that happens. If Taylor Sheridan chooses to leave the WGA because I'm getting more money here than what I've ever gotten with the WGA, and I'm doing everything by myself, I don't want to work with any writer, all of these shows could get made right now. All of them. If that's even true, we'll see. We'll see. Because 1923 is delayed. Yellowstone Season 5 is delayed because of the writer's strike. 1943 and 1963 are also delayed. The Four Sixes series ranch is delayed. But Taylor Sheridan shows are still coming out. The Lioness is coming out this summer, which is about an all-female CIA program called the Lioness, which is based on an actual female-run organization in the CIA. It's nothing but women that run it, and they do contract killings, president assassinations, president and leader replacements, elections, a lot of other things.
What the show is basically about.
Spies, espionage, all types of things.
What the show is about is basically all the dirty things the CIA does around the world.
That
Live to
includes-
you on television in a series on the TV.
Yeah.
About what they actually do in the office.
Right, but there is an organization, the CIA, that's mostly a female-run CIA organization. So that's true, and Taylor Sheridan's making a show that's kind of based on that called The Lioness, starring Zoe Saldana. That's premiering this summer, and it won't surprise me, it's going to get more viewers than Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And then you got the Bass Reeves series about Bass Reeves, one of the most dominant and successful sheriffs who worked in the west of Mississippi, and he was a black man, and he never got shot, and he arrested almost 300 criminals and killed a lot of other criminals, and most of them were white men.
Unfortunately-
And Bass Reeves was partly raised by Native Americans when he was a slave, and he escaped, and he found his freedom with this Native American tribe that kind of helped raise him, and he could speak their language as well as English. I mean, this guy was so incredible that they made a TV show about him and a radio drama about him.
Is there a book about him as well?
Right, but they made a TV show about him and a radio drama about him, but they didn't call it Bass Reeves, and he wasn't black. It was called The Lone Ranger. The Lone Ranger, that show and that audio drama was about Bass Reeves, but they couldn't make him black because it was 1950s Jim Crow America, and
Mind
that
you-
wasn't going to sell back in the
mind
1940s and 50s.
Mind you, I do want to point this out because in case anyone states, Jim Crow was this. Jim Crow law, the Jim Crow law was a Democrat passed thing back then,
And Republican.
and Republican, so yes.
Well, it started becoming more Republican as time went on, but yeah.
Yeah.
But
however, not to get political, but the series back then was something that was a no-no in the time that they wanted to tell the story.
And educated audiences know that. They couldn't do that. So they changed the race and they called him the Lone Ranger and gave him a Native American sidekick. But now Bass Reeves' show by Taylor Sheridan, it's not, I don't know if it's co-created by Taylor Sheridan, but Taylor Sheridan is bringing this series into the Yellowstone universe. It takes place in the year 1883 about Bass Reeves, and that's finished filming, and that could come out in September or November. So there you go.
Okay, so something about Guardians of the Galaxy. Yes, we're going to speak about Guardians of the Galaxy because it was talking about regarding a little too late when it's doing great.
Yeah.
So Guardians of the Galaxy.
Too little, too late.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3
It's doing great at the box office.
is doing
Doing
great
very
at the box
well.
office. It's one of the first Marvel films to be doing well after all of the.
It's the first hit for Phase 5.
Think of it like this: if there were 7 things for Phase 5 out of 5, number 1.
Yeah, and Disney.
Secret Wars might be number 6.
And even though Disney Plus has a lot of subscribers, most people who have Disney Plus are not watching the Marvel shows, and so when they go see the movies, they're confused now because they put so many Marvel installments in the MCU on Disney Plus and it's now confusing movie-going audiences that did not watch WandaVision and are watching Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, and they're like, "What the fuck? Why is Wanda the bad guy? And why is she murdering people? And what is the Darkhold? Oh, you had to watch WandaVision to know that? Well, shit."
I didn't know.
And
Oh,
now we
shit.
got
Your shit, I don't know.
And now we got the Marvels that are good. That's going to have Miss Marvel and the other Marvel What's her name? What's her name?
Fuck should I remember?
Rambo.
Rambo.
Yeah, she was introduced in WandaVision. A lot of people are going to be seeing the Marvels. Didn't watch WandaVision, and they didn't watch Miss Marvel because Miss Marvel sucked, and nobody watched it. And so that movie's going to come out. People are going to be really confused, and I know it's not going to make a lot of money. And hopefully, it gets destroyed by Dune Part 2 because you only have to do 2 things to get ready for Dune Part 2. You have to watch Dune Part 1. That's all. And you can read the book if you want to. That's it. You don't need to go through anything else.
Think of this.
You don't need to watch David Lynch's movie.
Dune Part 2 is the next movie on easy mode.
Yeah.
Whereas the Marvels,
You gotta do all this extra homework.
I have no intention of doing that. I do enough shit with pre-calculus.
But because I'm an MCU fan, I've watched the shit. So I know what's going to go on.
I haven't watched. I watched WandaVision.
People are going to watch the movie wondering why Captain Marvel is disappearing and coming back. Because the reason why that's happening is because of Miss Marvel's powers and technology. And no one's going to know that because they don't watch Miss Marvel. So people are going to be in that theater watching and be like, what the fuck is happening?
I guarantee you.
What is going on?
Critics will be most confused of all.
Who is Kang? How is Kang just as powerful as Thanos? He got his ass whooped by ants. Oh, he was introduced in Loki? I didn't watch that shit. They'd be like, I didn't watch it. Like,
When you want to
fuck?
make a continuity, excuse me. When you want to make a continuity, you must make it make sense, even if you miss.
it
one
does
thing.
make sense.
No,
but most people don't watch it.
No, but it needs to make sense even if you miss parts of it.
But it does make sense. But most people are not watching it. It doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. It doesn't matter if there's a connection. It makes sense because it does. All the connections and all the crossovers make sense. The problem is that most people are not watching Disney Plus shows on Disney Plus. They're subscribed and they're either not watching Disney Plus or they're watching the library.
I believe right now.
And the library is big.
I believe right now that there is a current lawsuit. I'm not entirely I'm not able to recall entirely where it is. I believe it might be in the UK. Disney may be in a case in a legal proceeding against the UK Parliament right now. We'll let the Disney expert here check on that. But however, there is a lawsuit or there is some matter pertaining to the subscription without notifying the individuals that are pertaining to
No.
that.
That was an investor lawsuit. But Disney doesn't have to deal with it. It's actually been. I think it's been dismissed.
Look at that. When the company has more power than its investors,
No, wait a minute.
why don't you click on it rather than read
You can,
the synopsis? Bathrooms are here.
Yeah, Disney won't have to face the suit that was accusing them of mismanaging a public feud with Ron DeSantis about his Florida law, all of his stupid ass laws in
I
Florida.
believe it's the Parentals Act or Parental
No,
Rights Act.
it's a longtime Disney stockholder, Kenneth Simone. In December, he sued them, and the judge in the court says that Disney's actually not even a part of it. He actually so Disney doesn't really have to pay shit. That's good. Good for them. I hope Ron DeSantis loses at everything because Ron DeSantis sucks, in my personal opinion. I just wanted to say that.
I'm not gonna comment. I'm not commenting on that.
Hey, I don't feel bad for the people of Florida. They made their bed and got to sleep into it. This is who you voted for. Now you got to suffer the consequences.
I'm not commenting for 2 reasons. I do not have first-hand understanding of Florida.
I have a lot
law.
of first-hand understanding,
And
so
the
I can
second
comment.
is I'm not a resident of Florida to understand what is occurring in Florida.
I have a lot of first-hand education on what's going on, and it's absolutely hilarious. I love what's happening. But anyways, not to get political, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is doing very, very well. I think if James Gunn never got
2020.
if James Gunn never got fired, and if COVID-19 never happened, and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 came out in May of 2020, after coming off the great will of 2019 MCU with Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, and Spider-Man 2.
I wouldn't count on Captain Marvel, but
Right, but it had
else-
fans, you know, and
everything
people
else-
loved Avengers Endgame, especially mostly the last hour of Avengers Endgame, and people love Spider-Man 2. So when all three of those movies at the total box office made about almost $5 billion in total. So if Guardians of the Galaxy 3 came out, that opening weekend could have been massive. And if it held up, if it had a great opening weekend, and if it held up as well as it's holding up now, who knows what kind of domestic performance it could have had. That movie could have made 450 million, maybe 500 million. We'll never know. We'll never know. It's all life just got in the way, literally.
Life came and said, "Bitch, get the fuck out! I'm here to stay."
So what else are we talking about?
Well, due to the fact that I still haven't seen the ending for Fast X, but I've seen the majority of the movie at this point, we can make a thought about it. What are your thoughts on Fast X?
It was okay. The problem was that the movie was too big and doing too much. Like, yeah, the movie cost $340 million, but they were doing stuff that was a waste of time. The fight scene between Michelle Rodriguez and Charlize Theron was completely unnecessary. It took up too much time. They didn't need to fight at all. They could have just escaped together and nothing would have changed about the scene at all. And the fight scene was just silly because she's beating up the woman that killed her boyfriend, her husband's baby's mama.
Who is her brother, right?
In the eighth movie. What?
It's,
No, Dawn is Michelle Rodriguez's character's wife, Letty's husband.
yeah, no, but aren't they related or something?
No, they're husband and wife. They're not related.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was about to say, damn, and Diesel went hard south real quick.
No, I mean they're married, but the child that she's raising is not her kid. It's another woman's kid
So
that he was with because he thought she was dead and she had amnesia. So he slept with this woman. He got her pregnant, and she had a baby. And it's like a 6-year time jump, but the baby is still in diapers at 2 years old, even though he should be 6 years old. But whatever. They finally did a real time jump and made the kid actually look a little bit older than he is, but a little of his actual age, let's say by now. But it was so stupid and it was so ridiculous and completely unnecessary. Then you had the supporting characters played by Ludacris, Tyrese, and the gorgeous woman from Game of Thrones, who played Melisandre, who are teaming up and doing all this crazy shit that had nothing to do with the main plot, but it was all done to meet Pete Davidson, who's really popular right now. So, we gotta put Pete Davidson in this movie, and the whole thing was stupid and unnecessary. And then they had Jason Momoa, who seemed to in the beginning of the movie seemed to be a villain who starts from the bottom and goes to the top, right? That's how it's kind of like I thought was going to be made, was this villain. Because his father died, he lost all of his money, his fortune, everything. It was all dumped into the ocean. And I thought that's how it was going to be. But no, it wasn't. Apparently the guy is super rich, got a lot of money, hires all these henchmen from everywhere. He owns Rio de Janeiro and all the criminals in Rio, apparently. And apparently he's a Joker-like villain. He's not serious at all. And he's just cracking jokes and acting like a fucking buffoon throughout the entire movie. And it's just ridiculous, and it's just too much because you could spend $340 million on a movie, but you gotta spend it wisely. And this movie is just ridiculous.
My problem...
And it flopped.
My problem...
And they're still doing an 11th movie.
My problem with the film, and there's a multitude, I'm not even sure how to address them because I feel so disappointed for wasting my time with this crap of a film that I could have spent it doing something else. Maybe watching Guardians of the Galaxy 3 rather than Fast X. Why did I watch Fast X? I don't know. It's maybe you don't have that addiction where you're...
No, I watched it. I only watch it because I'm too invested now. I love Fast 5, Fast 6, and Fast 7. They're all really good movies when they decide to stop being real movies and they're like, let's be an over-the-top superhero movie. That makes no sense. But then it got bad with the 8th movie, which was not good. And then the 9th movie was terrible. And the 10th movie is a little bit better, but still not good. And I'm watching because...
They need to pull the plug on Fast.
I'm watching because I've been watching it, and characters are faking deaths now. They don't die. Villains who you thought were villains are allies, apparently, because they're all part of the family. And Michelle Rodriguez's character, Letty, faked her death. She's alive. They killed off Gal
Spoiler.
Gadot. They killed off Gal Gadot, who never died. She's back now. Juan didn't die either. So Gal Gadot and Juan are going to reunite in Fast 11. Are probably going to make sweet love, for all I know. And there you go. The family is back. And The Rock is coming back too, because Black Adam flopped at the box office, and his reputation is tarnished. So he's got no fucking choice but to come back.
That's it. They
He
let
was
him-
hoping to do DC for the rest of his life, but now he's like, oh fuck.
He might be
I'm
able,
stuck.
He might be able to if
No.
James Gunn has a role for him. That's not
No,
Black
James
Adam.
Gunn fired him too. And you know what? Credit to James Gunn for thinking like a CEO. The way he fired Henry Cavill and The Rock was fucking smooth. It was the smoothest shit I had ever seen in my life. Because Henry Cavill announced on Instagram, I'm coming back as Superman. I'm back. Thank you, Superman fans. And Black Adam's like, welcome, Superman. We're going to face off. And then 2 months later, James Gunn is like, nah, I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. It's like, wow. That's like a CEO. Dude, that was like a Logan Roy Succession moment. He's like, nah, kill it. I was like, whoa, dude.
See, no, my problem with Fast X was the pacing.
Wow.
The numerous locations in the movie that made no sense whatsoever. Like there, then there, then there, then there, then there, then there, then there. Like, what is the point of going to one place if all you have to do is go straight to the other end?
Even CEOs at other businesses were like, James Gunn, what he did was awesome. They like a lot of businesses want to hire James Gunn for CEO now because of the way he fired everybody. It was crazy. It was brilliant.
And then on top of that, it's the unnecessary filler in the film.
What, Fast 10?
And Fast 10.
Yeah.
The fights, the whole
Yeah.
monologue, the whole I had a moment, I hit all the guns.
It's like now they're trying to do what Michael Bay does, but it's like less entertaining. It feels overwrought. Like Michael Bay, he does a lot of crazy shit in his movies, but the crazy shit serves a purpose. Like
Michael Bay. Michael Bay would do a better Fast
like,
X.
yeah, he would. I agree. And like Ambulance was really good because it had a simple story with characters to connect to. It had explosions that didn't make any sense, but there was a purpose to the explosion and all the crazy stuff that happened in the movie. It's Michael Bay's best movie, and it's his best reviewed movie, which I would have never thought I would ever say. The critics liked the movie. The critics actually liked the movie.
The audience liked the movie.
The audience liked it. Yeah, it was a
One
surprisingly
of
good
those
movie.
rare blue moons occurred. It's a blue moon somewhere. There's
but
a
the
blue
problem-
moon somewhere in the sky where audience and critics alike
But
come to mind.
the movie flopped at the box office because nobody had any interest to see a movie called Ambulance. It was a stupid fucking title. Nobody was gonna see that shit. But I saw it because I figured once I saw the critics were liking it, it got the best reviews for Michael Bay movies since The Rock. Like you had to go back that far to find a Michael Bay movie that got really good reviews. It didn't get like the best reviews. It didn't get like a 70, 75%. But it got like a 67, 68. For a Michael Bay movie, that's high. Okay, that's high.
On the scale of an average moviegoer, 68 doesn't seem so good.
No, yeah, exactly. But when I saw that rating, I was like, for a Michael Bay movie, okay, I'm seeing this. So I saw it twice and I enjoyed it. It was good.
So now that we've given our thoughts about Fast X and all the other topics and everything,
And before we move on, unlike some directors, especially on the Fast movies, is that Michael Bay will randomly come up with shit and then get it done based on what he envisioned. Like when Ambulance, he had $40 million, but the movie might as well cost $120 million with the way he made it. Like he told Jake Gyllenhaal, okay, tomorrow I'm going to have 2 helicopters with cameras on. I'm going to have drones flying around with the helicopters, and you're just going to be on top of the ambulance shooting, and I'm going to get it done tomorrow. And Jake Gyllenhaal is like, okay, how the fuck is this going to happen? Michael Bay said, just trust me. Next day, he had 2 helicopters flying around with drones, filming the whole action scene, and Jake Gyllenhaal shooting a gun outside the ambulance. The whole time, Jake Gyllenhaal was like, this is insane. How the fuck did I get in the middle of this? That's what Michael Bay does.
Michael
okay?
Bay is not a I'll try. Michael Bay is I'll do that.
And sometimes,
And if you're the actor, good luck.
and sometimes you give him a way too big of a budget, he does even crazier shit. Like Six Underground was insane, and that was not a good movie, but it was fun. Netflix gave him $200 million, and he just went to town. That movie was insane. I wish I could have seen that movie in theaters.
You know what?
I wish I could have seen that movie in theaters.
Was there a sequel to that?
No.
Here's
the problem.
Michael Bay does one thing great.
A dumbass sequel.
A sequel
Dumb
that
sequel.
the critics don't care for, that they don't want, but
The audience will
fans
watch.
love it.
Yeah.
Even if it's a bad film,
that's-
they'll love it.
Yeah, that's what Michael Bay says. He says, "I make movies to please the audience but piss off the critics." But
So
and
you
no
know-
political correctness either, even to this day. But
So you know one thing.
Six
If
Underground.
you want to watch a film, that's entertaining, entertainingly bad or entertainingly good, go watch a Michael Bay film. Why?
Go watch Six Underground.
Because you're gonna get entertained. Critics are not gonna like it, and you'll be like, I want a sequel to this. After maybe an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, maybe the next day, you'll be like, is there a sequel to this?
And you know, it's funny. The Six Underground didn't get a sequel because the viewership was not what Netflix wanted for the budget. Because the movie cost almost $200 million, around that level, and they probably wanted to get like 100 million households, or what Extraction got in 2020. They didn't really get it, so they're like, you know what? Let's not do a sequel. But it could have been fun.
Could have been a lot
It could have
better.
been a lot of fun.
I'm sure it would have. It wouldn't have made the numbers they wanted, but it'll have gotten some portion of people in. Anyways, if you're still with us after all of our content, conversational speaking on topics, nerd culture, the like post, and everything more, why don't you please click that like button, or whatever the like button is. Hit
All right, so
subscribe.
what's the next topic? Secret
And
Invasion?
notification bell. The next thing we're going to talk about, well, I don't think Secret Invasion is worth doing at this point. We're already an hour in.
Yeah, I didn't see the second episode. I saw
Yeah.
the first
So-
episode.
so-
I liked
no,
it.
no,
Did
so-
you watch the first episode?
Not yet. I was going to watch it, but I was going to talk about
Okay.
Secret Invasion. So, Secret Invasion will be for next week.
Yeah.
What I want to speak about, what I want to touch on, because it's not over yet. I don't know if tomorrow's the last court date or if there's other days. Is the Xbox Activision Blizzard King trial with the FTC, otherwise known as Xbox ABK versus FTC. Currently, there are a lot of bombshells coming out, a lot of revelations, and I don't mean in a bad way. I mean, this wow, you have all of these plans for acquisitions, purchases, and titles, and one of the things that Xbox had planned to do was to buy Bungie, buy Zynga, I believe it was called, this studio, the game developer. Before Take-Two bought them, before Sony bought Bungie, they have plans to buy. Well, they have plans to get Sega, Square Enix.
It's crazy how during this trial we're getting more gaming news than what we got at the showcases.
You know what?
It's
This-
so funny.
This should be the next E3.
I know, court, trial. I mean, it's going to get to the point where the Bloodborne PC leak is going to come out. Where
It'll probably come out tomorrow from Sony saying,
where
"Well,
some-
we're working on this." And
something is going to come out. Something is going to slip to where Sony's going to announce that Bloodborne is coming to PC and Game Pass on Xbox and PC in about 2 years. And all Bloodborne fans are be like, we finally got some news, but it wasn't for a showcase. It was in trial with people under oath, to where they had to get the fucking answer. It would be so funny. I will fucking die laughing if that happens. That would be so stupid too. But Jim Ryan, here's the thing. I'm not a fan of big tech like Microsoft owning a lot of companies, because, and I'm not the biggest fan of the cutthroat, freewheeling capitalism of North America. Other countries do capitalism a little bit better than what we do, but the whole concept of capitalism is competition. Capitalism breeds competition because you want to one-up your competition to make a really good profit and to better your competition. If you want to understand the very essence of capitalism, all you have to do is move to New York and watch the restaurant business. You drive up and down by bus or cab or walk around in restaurants and look at how many restaurants go out of business. Why? Because their next door neighbor, a different restaurant, was doing better, got way more people, and you went out of business because the people that would usually come to your restaurant to eat your food went to that restaurant instead, and you're fucked. I have literally seen and read about stuff where delis from that would set other delis on fire so that people would go to their delis and buy their stuff so they could stop going to this deli. I've heard those stories. It's not good, but that's what capitalism breeds. It breeds that type of competition. So Microsoft buying a lot of companies will hurt competition in the long run. It ain't just Microsoft, it's all tech companies overall. But FTC and Sony's argument is absolute shit, because Sony is doing the exact same thing. But Sony is like, oh, well, it's happening to us. It's bad. And the judge and the jury and the judge look at this case like,
There's no jury,
no,
the judge.
there's no judge. So it's just a judge. She's like, well, you guys are doing the same thing to everybody, including Microsoft, but you don't want Microsoft to do it to you, but you're effectively doing the same thing. That's not how this shit works. You can't just get mad when it's happening to you when you've been doing it to everybody else for the last five.
I love this
for
judge.
the last
I
five.
love this judge.
For the last 5 years, Sony, especially
Well, they've
under,
been doing it for longer, but
no, but under Jim Ryan, it's really gotten out of hand. And the judge, as well as people watching it, are like, you're doing the same thing, so your arguments are not good. And this is making the FTC look bad. It's making Jim Ryan look bad. If the judge rules in Microsoft's favor, I really don't know if Jim Ryan's keeping his job this year. I think Sony in Japan.
I told you.
I think
I told
Sony.
you.
No, but because this is getting really, really bad now. It's gotten embarrassingly fucking bad, and it won't surprise me if Jim Ryan gets ousted by Sony in Japan and gets replaced by another guy to be in charge of Sony.
I would prefer
They should get the previous guy.
Sean Layden.
Yeah, get him back.
Well, you see, the thing with Sean Layden is that the guy is in favor of accessibility. You like JRPGs? Here's some JRPGs for you. You like RPGs, tactics, MMOs, whatever. The guy believes in a diverse portfolio, not what Jim Ryan believes in, which is
Business
single
first,
player,
money first.
single player narrative, cinematic.
No,
games.
what he wants is monetization. He doesn't care about single player. He doesn't care about that.
So,
he wants monetization.
And it's come out in the trials.
He wants multiplayer. Why do you think all of these Sony IPs are making multiplayer games? They're going to have a shit ton of microtransactions. The Last of Us multiplayer is going to have microtransactions. Bungie is becoming a microtransaction hell with Destiny 2. God of War, Santa Monica Studio, is making a multiplayer that's going to have microtransactions.
So what's happening?
Guerrilla Games is making a Horizon multiplayer that's going to have a lot of what? Microtransactions. Microtransactions.
So what's coming out in this case is the revelation that Sony no longer wants to do single player games.
They're even bringing back Marathon. And Bungie is doing with Marathon what they should be doing for Destiny for PvP, but those PvP players don't realize that Destiny 2 under Bungie is more PvE focused. PvP is secondary, but they're still selling like hotcakes with microtransactions and bringing Sony billions of dollars every month. But now Marathon, which is going to be multiplayer exclusive with a shit ton of maps, is going to be full of microtransactions. And that's what Jim Ryan wants. The previous guy at Sony just wanted to sell single-player games, and he wanted to take artistic risks with original games made from Japan and other studios to appeal to a small audience that will show up and buy your game, but you keep the budget low to where you make a profit, so your game sells 3 million copies and it's considered a success like Bloodborne. But under Jim Ryan, no. He wants microtransactions forever and ever and ever till the end of time.
So what's going to end up happening is that Sony will no longer be the game about narrative-driven, single-player, story-focused games. It's going to be your multiplayer microtransaction hell landscape. Jim Ryan is going to effectively kill PlayStation on such a huge degree. And I know there are PlayStation fans that will defend PlayStation to the ends of the earth, the furthest reaches of hell, and to the highest levels of space. I know that. I'm not here to say that you're going to have this and it's no other way. It's the reality of things. If Jim Ryan, former Electronic Arts soup executive, whatever guy, employee there, is in charge of PlayStation, goodbye PlayStation as you know it. Mind you, it's funny that the revelation that came out about Sony paywalling third-party games off Xbox. We'll give you X amount of money if you don't put it on Xbox. Meanwhile, studios take it, and then they come to say, well, we would have made more money on Xbox, on Game Pass, excuse me. And it's rather ironic that it takes this court case to expose Sony, or as many people like to say, Sony, to the reality of what is going on in the world. Now, there was a deal offered to Sony, and Sony should have just taken it, really. As they weren't going to lose Call of Duty. Why? That's such an idiotic move to pay $96, whatever billion dollars for Activision Blizzard, King, and to Pretty much. Just take Call of Duty off your console. They make money off of your console. You sell Call of Duty on your console. What is it you gotta? I don't know. I know.
Yeah.
However, I don't want to do quadratics. I don't want to do freaking linears or any other functions at this point. At this point, what's even worse is the FTC.
And now, and because Bungie's making so much for Sony and Jim Ryan are now deferring to them, and that's why The Last of Us multiplayer is delayed indefinitely, because they want to monetize that and make it an addicting game to get players to play it forever. Now, players are playing Factions to this day, but Factions does not have a huge player base. They want a massive player base that's going to download the game and spend a shit ton of money on microtransactions.
So
They basically want you to pay to win. By paying to win, they want you to buy all the armor, the best weapons, and everything, so you could just run through fucking scrubs.
They
Basically,
want
be a
you-
gang of
they
people
want
just punching
you-
people to death.
rather than having it as a mobile game, it's gonna be Diablo Immortals, Sony Edition, Factions. Anyways, I think that should be about it, really, because at this point I'm gonna speak, and I would need to collect more information before I speak, and I want to allow more time for the court trial and all the information to emerge, rather than to comment first. I know I'm day 3 in, and I'm commenting about some things that happened maybe day 1, day 2. However, it is best to come in a little bit late and have correct information, rather than to be the first one to post and say, I have it, and then your information is wrong, and then you have to retract that video and issue a correction, which is not, there's nothing wrong against that. There's nothing against that. It's just rather than have to correct yourself for being ahead of, too far ahead of the curve when things have yet to be further explained, revealed, and discussed, or shown, it is best to have a more understanding perspective to things. Rather than saying I made an egg and you haven't made the egg, it's more or less similar to that concept.
Yeah.
You want the egg, you gotta make the egg. To make the egg, you gotta crack an egg. To crack an egg, you gotta get the egg out of the fridge, and you get this. You get the idea. There's steps to it all. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Steve.
Hold on. What else are we going to talk about? We got to talk about something else.
No, that was it. That
We
was
still
it.
got so much time left.
No, it's an hour, almost an hour and a half.
Yeah, I know, but let's try and go another 20 minutes. What else are we talking about?
Why not 20 minutes?
We already talked about the Witcher series?
No, we have not. He would like to talk to you about the Witcher series.
Oh, that's right. Hold on. Let me post
He's
this.
read the book. We've watched the trailer. I'm still no fan of the Witcher Netflix series. The writer, whose name I'm trying to remember, and it's eluding me. He said, "I've seen better, I've seen worse." He doesn't care. Effectively, he doesn't care. It's whatever. So, are you gonna comment or should I?
Yeah, 1 second.
1 second. One.
1 second.
One. Ladies and gentlemen, if you were gonna say 1 second, be prepared. When you have someone like me near
20
you,
seconds, 20
when
seconds.
I am beside
20
you,
seconds, 20 seconds.
All right, I'm counting. You lost 7 already. 7 now. When I'm beside you, one of the things you should be aware of is 1 second is literally me saying one. 1 moment, please, is a whole different story. So we're gonna wait. It's 20 seconds have passed. I'm counting. It's on the clock. I want to get me a milkshake, but at the same time, I don't want a milkshake. I have milk tea at home. I'm probably gonna get
Okay, I'm done.
I'm gonna pour
I'm
myself
done.
a cup of
All right, here we go.
milk tea.
So, I did talk about the book. No, I didn't. The Witcher, Time of Contempt. Fantastic book. An absolute masterpiece. The writing is great. The dialogue is great. The world building is great. It's so wonderful. The family dynamic between Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri was great. Yennefer is mostly a really good mom to Ciri. Geralt tries to be a great father. And spoilers for the book. I did my little review, but this is spoilers. The coup of Thened was so brilliantly well written, well developed, and it was told mostly from Geralt's perspective and a couple other perspectives. But the build up to it was great, with Geralt talking to Foltz, and he's telling it to Yennefer, and he's telling everything about that whole conversation that happened, and it was so great. And their love scene and the romance, the dialogue was really great between them. That was wonderful. And also, when the coup finally happened, it was so intense and so well written. I was on the edge of my seat during chapter 3 and chapter 4. And Ciri's chapter with the unicorn was also great. Hopefully they put that in the book, but I doubt it, because It's a great chapter that's so amazing, where not a whole lot happens, and these writers have a short attention span. Netflix has a short attention span, and they want people to be engaged. They don't want a whole episode where Siri is in the middle of a desert, traveling with a unicorn, eating bugs and eggs from lizards and surviving monster attacks. It was one of the most wonderful chapters. Such great character development and such a great dynamic between her and a unicorn. Netflix is probably going to cut that out because, let's face it, Lauren is a fucking moron. And Netflix is a bunch of fucking idiots. But
Question.
the ending with the rats was great too. There's this relationship between Missile and Siri that gets developed. Their scene wasn't really like a love scene. It was kind of rapey. It was sort of kind of like a rape scene. But it's a little bit ambiguous. It's not completely black and white. But I do think Siri is bisexual or more into women maybe, so I don't know. But it was a really well-written scene. It was great. And yeah, it was a great ending. I like the rats. They're all a bunch of sociopaths. They're children of contempt during a war-torn time. And they're all a bunch of sociopaths killing people for money, killing Nilfgaardian guards and other guards and stealing money and killing and raping people. I mean, they have such a terrible, horrific, immoral reaction to how broken the world is, but their reaction and their behavior is logical based on how broken the continent really is during a war-torn time, with Nilfgaard going to war with everybody and destroying all these castles and killing all these soldiers and ransacking villages. I mean, it is such a great book. Nilfgaard has come back with a vengeance, and they are getting revenge from what happened at the Battle of Sodden, and they are taking names and not really taking prisoners. They're just killing people. They're just wiping people the fuck out. And the king of Nilfgaard,
Yeah.
Emfrey, who, if you played The Witcher 3, you know that the king of Nilfgaard is Ciri's father. He is working with the Scoia'tael, who are elves, who are killing humans for Nilfgaard. And the king of Nilfgaard is even giving one of the princes of the elves, who is a descendant of elf royalty, he gave the elves their old kingdom back as long as they help him kill a bunch of humans. But they don't have a lot of freedom. They're beholden to the king of Nilfgaard, but they at least got their homeworld back. They got some of their languages back. They got some of their culture back. So they got what they back, but with a big sacrifice. They are basically enslaved by Nilfgaard. But they got what they wanted, you know. But that's what's so great about the book. No one is really a good guy or a bad guy. There's a lot of shades of gray, and it's great. I'm loving it.
Question. Because you said the whole scene from the book about Siri surviving the desert, eating bugs, lizard eggs with a unicorn. You want that to be adapted into the book. That's already in the book.
Yeah.
That's already in the book. Why would that be adapted into
Exactly.
the book?
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean adapted to the show.
There you go.
That's what I
Correction.
said. Oh, I didn't say that.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I didn't say that. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. But yeah, I want that chapter, which is chapter 6 of The Witcher with Ciri and the unicorn. I hope that makes it in the last 3 episodes. But considering nothing really happens in that chapter, and it's just Ciri and a unicorn, and unicorns are a big deal in Polish culture and fantasy and beliefs.
Well,
apparently in medieval Poland they had a lot of unicorns. Maybe they just didn't fly, but I don't know. I don't know. It's a lot of mysticism behind that. But
when it comes to unicorns,
it's just not.
When it comes to unicorns, they were very big around, not central, but around Eastern Europe, towards Poland, moving a little further around in the Slavic areas.
Yeah, and it was great. The book is great. I love The Last Wish. It was great. Sword of Destiny was also Last Wish was really good. It wasn't great, but it had some great short stories. Sword of Destiny is really great. That was a great one. I love Blood of Elves. Blood of Elves is a fantastic book. But Time of Contempt is a masterpiece, and I see why this is everybody's favorite. It's such a great book, and I'll get started on the next book, which I think is called Baptism of Fire. Let me look up the list of the Witcher books.
The next book. Let's call the next book.
Okay, Baptism of Fire. That's the next one, and the next one is the Tower of the Swallow, and then Lady of the Lake. So, yeah. And the Witcher writer has announced recently, earlier this year, that more Witcher books are going to be coming out, but they're all going to be prequel books or spin-off books. They're all going to involve Geralt, and there's the main Witcher story is concluded, but he will be coming out with prequel books in the near future. So I'll be looking forward to that.
I will too. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen,
That's it, y'all.
That's
it.
the end of our show. If you like what we've been able to discuss, what we've covered, please hit that notification bell. Follow for future
I'm going to be
content.
seeing The Witcher later on tonight. It premieres at 3 o'clock in the morning, so I'll watch the first 5 episodes. I'm going to watch that, and I'm going to watch Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
I will be playing Final Fantasy 16.
And I'll also be playing Final Fantasy 16. I'll be doing that as well.
What part are you up to?
I'm up to where he killed his dominant, and he fought the younger version of himself, and now he is Clive is now super powerful, and he now knows who he is. And going back to the old castle with the waifu, who's his childhood friend. What's her name? Jill? Jill, yeah. So I just went through all that, and I am now super OP. I got all my rings.
Oh, you're not OP, man.
I'm OP, and I got all my rings, and I'm gonna break this game. I am making it the easiest game of all time, and I'm enjoying myself.
I'm still glad that
I'm enjoying the story, and I'm just whooping ass.
I'm glad I'm playing with
I'm only pressing
stuff.
2 buttons, R1 and square. It's awesome. R1 and square.
You don't use magic, do you?
No, I use magic.
No, you don't.
When I hit square, the magic automatically comes out.
No, square is your basic attack.
No, square involves magic too.
No.
The magic ability comes out.
Square is your basic attack. Triangle is to use.
I use triangle too.
Your range.
I use triangle too.
R1 is to dodge.
No, but here's
R2 square. R2 triangle.
But here's what's weird.
Circle is your dash.
No, but
forward or pull.
here's the problem with the controller. When I keep hitting square, for some reason, the Q, the Y, gets automatically pressed on, and I use everything.
That sounds.
And it makes no sense.
That sounds like a
Sometimes I'll be playing it like it's a fighting game, and I'll hit them both at the same time, like this. I'll use 2 fingers instead of my thumb. The abilities are fucking wild. The abilities are insane.
Anyways, I'll be playing more tonight. I'll give a review tomorrow.
I'm gonna watch Warrior Nun tonight as well. Really good show. Oh, that's the other thing. Shout out to Warrior Nun fans. I am so happy for you guys. What's up, Blaine? He likes Warrior Nun too,
Hello,
even though he doesn't like
this
fantasy.
Is the owner. Blaine, get over here. Get over here.
This is the owner.
Get over here.
It's the owner.
This is the owner of this fine
It's
establishment.
the owner of Action Burger.
If you are
Yeah.
ever in New York City
Yeah.
and you want to find some place that has childhood memories
And really
video
great
games,
burgers,
comics,
really great food.
food.
And he's one of the few brothers in New York that owns a restaurant, which is great. One of the few. It's great. Yes. And
You got nobody on there.
yeah, we had 2 people once. Yeah, I know.
Like thousands
Yeah,
right
I
now.
know. But
I think if we do shorter videos, maybe
yeah,
we'll get
but
some more.
I just wanted to say shout out to Warrior Nun fans. I'm so happy for y'all. According to the showrunner, Warrior Nun has been saved. There will probably be a season 3 or an ending to the story. So I'm getting started on Warrior Nun. I'm liking it. I didn't want to watch it because I knew it'd be canceled because they had a cult audience and the show costs like $100 million. So that's always the chopping block for Netflix. If your show is expensive and only a couple million people are watching it, you're fucked. I'm sorry, you're fucked. But it got saved, and I said to Warrior Nun fans on Twitter, you better appreciate this moment, because I remember when Sensei got saved during Pride Month of 2017, and it got given a 2.5-hour conclusion, and it's one of the greatest science fiction shows ever made by J. Michael Straczynski, the creator of Babylon 5 and the Wachowski sisters. It was such a great show, and when it got saved, it was such a wonderful moment. So to you Warrior Nun fans, cherish this moment. Please enjoy this moment because it's so rare for a show to get saved. It's so rare for a show to get saved. This rarely happens. It happened with Manifest that got saved. That was good. And the last season was really good. So enjoy this moment and cherish it. Definitely. So yeah.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, again, my name's Steve. This is Brian J's Nerd Talk.
Yep, I'm Brian J. Brian J's Nerd Talk.
Steve Stoltz Nerd Talk. Now, if you like our content, if any of the content, the material that we've covered is of interest to you, please click that like button, hit that subscribe, and the notification icon to stay up to date with what we're doing, what's posting, the content that we're releasing, whether it's co-content or if it's a solo content video, in which there's reviews, thoughts, and anything else on our culture and our topics and such. Stay up to date. And if anything, hit that share button to share with those around you, those that you know, and those that may possibly be interested in the content we're discussing. Again, this is Steve from Steve Stone Nerd Talk with Brian J. from Brian J's Nerd Talk. Signing off.
So yeah.
May the force be with you.